Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, Phil Better, the podcast mogul, and today's guest is an unstoppable force in the world of small business growth with a blend of expertise, creativity, and unwavering support. She helps countless entrepreneurs defy the odds and build thriving, successful businesses. Her clients rave about her abilities to simplify complex strategies, encourage bold leadership, and help them price their worth with confidence. In addition to her coaching and consulting, she's a dedicated educator teaching entrepreneurship for Entrepreneur Small Business School services. She's also a certified woman business entrepreneur with both the city and state of New York. Like, come on, can't get bigger than that. Adding even more to her credibility is her impressive track record. Get ready for a conversation that's going to be packed with actionable strategies and insight as we welcome the brilliant Lauren Fleshler. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure, Phil. Happy to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here. You're a star among stars in my book, and I want to know what made you decide to throw off the shackles of 9 to 5, the corporate world, and decide to become a business coach, an entrepreneur, if you will.
Well, honestly, I've been an entrepreneur ever since the beginning of my career because I've always had a side hustle. I've always worked freelance, gig jobs. I started in film and television, which is kind of one of the early gig economy industries. And, that just carried over into my 9 to 5 jobs. I would always have something on the side. So that was sort of woven into who I am. And then in 2008, I got laid off, like a lot of people did. And I got laid off from a job I really liked, but I was already thinking, what's next for me? So that sort of gave me the freedom to just do what I had been thinking, this might be next for me, which is running my own business. And it took me about a year to really start to put those pieces together. And I launched my first coaching business. A year after that, I launched with a friend, a consulting firm. And 4 years after that, I said, enough with the consulting firm. I really want to revisit the coaching, package it in a different way, and do some different stuff that I was looking to do around education, serving a couple of different entrepreneurial markets like startups versus in my teaching for the city, and coaching, which is for folks who are a little bit further along in their journey.
I love that. I'm curious. I'm going to jump ahead because I'm curious. How did you get connected with this, with the state or the city to offer these teaching opportunities? Because some people know bureaucracy is kind of the bane of entrepreneurs. You decided, hey, I'm going to go straight to the heart of it, and I'm going to try and make a course for entrepreneurs. How did that come about?
So the course is not my course. The city in, I think it was right around 2007, 2008, 2009, the city began to launch programs to support business development, startups particularly, and focusing on folks who qualify for minority and women certification. And this program that they started eventually morphed into another program. I ended up taking a business course that's very much like the one I teach somewhere else, not through the city, but my instructor taught for the city. And he came to me and he said, you should be teaching these classes, not taking them. So he recommended me. And when a contract, because that's how all city business works, they have to issue a contract. When the next contract cycle came around, he forwarded it to me and he said, apply for this contract. And that's what I did. And then I've been teaching. They gave me the contract, and been teaching for the city pretty much ever since. I took a year off in last year, took half a year off last year. But yeah, they're great. If you're in the New York City area, I highly recommend that you check out New York City's Fast Track, FASTTRAC program, because they have a lot of different programs depending on the type of business that you are starting or have recently started. If you're an existing business owner and you're looking to develop a growth plan, I primarily teach those advanced classes.
I love that. With teaching these classes and being an entrepreneur that helps businesses outside of these classes, you must be getting like not just case studies, but getting all the little limiting beliefs that entrepreneurs have while helping them, like in the classroom, being able to help them there, but also when you have this plethora of pretty much evidence. So when you go to your individual clients, that you can smash those limiting beliefs, obviously. How has been teaching for the city, in essence, translating into your coaching world? Like, have you seen a transfer of skills or mindsets that have helped either or?
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. Like we suffer the same problems. Basically, it doesn't matter. Like if you're in the tech industry, if you're in lifestyle, if you're in finance, if you're like me, you're doing coaching, you're selling products. We all have limiting beliefs. A lot of the work that I do is, I call it business therapy, because it's a combination of that mindset piece as well as the practical, tactical strategies that you need to be successful. And when I'm teaching students, they walk in the door. If you're teaching a startup class, they have lots of limiting beliefs, right? They have lots of things. They don't know what they're doing. They're overwhelmed. That's a big thing. There's a lot of people attracted to entrepreneurship who are what I call the A students, perfectionists, right? It attracts people who are like, go, go, go. And they don't really want to make a mistake. They want to have all their ducks in a row. And that is antithetical to entrepreneurship. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. You're going to have to go before you're ready. You have to kind of push the fear aside and do it anyway. So you're always kind of living on outside the comfort zone, just outside, not way outside, but you're living on that edge where you're constantly having to test yourself, rely on confidence that I have a lot of people who say, I'm going to fake it till I make it. I'd prefer that you work on the honestly feeling it, but if you have to fake it until you really do it and then feel confident about it, whatever works for you. But that's what entrepreneurship is. You're never going to be ready. You're never going to live without fear that something is going to go on that you don't know how to do, but you have to do it anyway.
I love that. And it's true. You have no choice. You have to go through the darkness. No matter how much you want those ducks in a row, the darkness is always going to be there. And one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs have a problem, I have an issue with, is pricing. How do we price ourselves so that we're valuable? And what are the common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs make when it comes to pricing their services?
Yeah, so there's a few. The first and foremost is that they target the wrong customer, right? So I always tell people you have to target a customer that can afford what you want to pay, what you want to charge, right? It's not the other way around. It's not, I'm going to set a price that my customers can afford. No, you got to target the right customer. And many times clients will come to me and they'll say, like I get pushback when I try to raise my prices. People want to like negotiate me down. That's not the right customer. That's what they're telling you. I am not the right customer for you. If you feel good about your pricing and you think it's where it should be, and people are constantly trying to negotiate you down, your problem is with who you're targeting, not with how you're pricing. The second thing that they do is that they don't really understand their own value. So I have a lot of customers who come to me and they say, well, I really wish that my customers understood the value of what I'm doing for them. Great. that's a you problem. That's not a them problem, right? You haven't done your job in educating them in your value. And for a lot of those entrepreneurs, they have an idea of what their value is, but they haven't really sat down and tried to articulate it in a way that will translate into messaging for themselves. So that's another place that I'd like to say, like, all marketing is education. You are educating your customers on your value, and you're continuing to deepen their perception of your value. So if you think about marketing as education around your value, that kind of changes how you actually develop messaging. The third thing is, you're not basically counting all the costs in your business. If you're an LLC or a sole proprietor, you're not on your profit and loss sheet. You're not counted in your operating expenses. Your taxes aren't counted in your operating expenses. Oftentimes, the investment of your time and kind of thought leadership in your sales isn't counted in your operating expenses. So here's another little nugget. You have to price for the infrastructure you need, not the infrastructure you have. The infrastructure you need has all the people who are going to do the jobs that right now most of us who work for ourselves are doing. We're our own assistants, we're our own social media manager, we're our own salesperson, we're our own operations person, right? Sometimes we're our own bookkeepers. If you want to hire other people to take those jobs off your plate, you actually have to bake those costs into your operating expenses so that you're charging enough money to eventually pay those people and get those jobs off your plate, in addition to charging enough to pay yourself.
Well, we can end the episode right there. I think that just solved everyone's problem. No, I really did enjoy that little nugget about charging for future costs for those infrastructure that you want to have instead of the one that you currently have, because you won't be able to get those infrastructures without, making the dollars. And if you're saving pennies versus needing dollars, it's going to take you a long time. So, Lauren.
Well, here's the thing. If you aren't charging for the expenses that you are going to have in your business, right, for future, the only way to afford those things is to sell more of whatever you're selling. And for many of us, there's a cap on our capacity because we have to invest back in our business in order to build out our capacity. So most small businesses can't afford the level of volume sales necessary to build enough profit, right? That's why you need to go out and get investors, because, I know what I need. I need these things in order for me to be able to sell more, but I don't have that profit in my business today. So there's a way to get there. Certainly investors or loans, lines of credit are all really valuable, but not every business wants to do that. And so you have to carve out a path for yourself based on what you see as what you want. And for some people, they don't want to go and get a loan from a bank. They don't think they're going to be able to, for one thing. So that's the problem with that formula of utilizing your cost of goods and your operating expenses to formulate your pricing without really considering where you're going to need to invest more money.
That is very true, and it's one of the more complex issues that people deal with in business. And since you're dealing with advanced classes, and you're tailoring these advices and solutions for very diverse businesses, and obviously their prices are diverse, how do you ensure that your guidance is both versatile and customizable enough to address the unique challenges of each business? Because some businesses, they have their pricing, they have their client, they have their sales funnels, they have all these different issues. How do you customize and make sure that what your knowledge you have is able to help these people?
That's a really good question. So nothing I sell is like off the shelf, right? It's not here's the methodology and you go through it and you figure it out. It's through working with my clients. I trust my clients to be experts in their own industries. so that they can tell me, well, what's the standard pricing? How does it work in your industry? And you should know that. If that's your business, you should know how other companies are pricing, what the standards are. And then it's really looking at what that entrepreneur, where they are, what they want to do. Because the fact of the matter is, most businesses start up and they charge what their competitors are charging. They're looking left, they're looking right, and saying, okay, this is what my competitors, I'm going to charge in that neighborhood, unless they're a premium brand, and then they're going to look at the premium brands in their industry. But here's the thing, you don't know how that pricing is working for those other companies. What problems do they have in their infrastructure? Are they making profit? Just because somebody's been a quote unquote in business a long time doesn't mean their business is successful, right? They may be struggling. They may have taken out loans. They may make very minor, small profit. They may not be able to grow because they're not charging enough. That's one thing that I think is really important to recognize. Don't just default to what everybody else is charging, because you don't know how their businesses are working or not working. Number two, it's helping my clients to really think about what they need financially. So almost working back from how much do you need to earn? How much do you need to clear out of your business in order to afford your life, right? And then looking at the matrix of what they offer and saying, here's how we organize these offers in a way that makes sense for your customers, right? Pricing is not a solo thing. It's not, let's just set the price, and we got to look at who you're targeting. We got to look at how you're messaging. We got to look at your offers, and then we have to look at your sales process. So I'm not sure how to answer that question other than to say that every client comes to me and we talk it through. And it's also, it's not an exact science, right? So you're going to set a price. I had a client work with me. In the first 3 months she worked with me, she must have changed her pricing 3, 4, 5 times. Because every time we had a conversation, she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to charge more. And that's fine. It worked for her, because what she was trying to do was establish an offer that was truly VIP high quality. And that's the other thing about pricing. There's a huge amount of psychology involved. And a lot of people think if I just charge less, I'll be more competitive, because people don't want to spend more. Duh, right? Mm-hmm. Except if you charge less, oftentimes people go, oh, that must not be as good as I thought it was. I'm going to go with the other guy that's charging in the neighborhood of what I think its value is, right? And so you kind of shoot yourself in the foot that way. I've had a lot of clients who lost opportunity because they were trying to compete on this pricing piece without recognizing that that was going to translate for the client into lower quality.
I like that. It's dealing with the price versus value of the what you have, because like we can take this lighter, we'll say right here, no one's willing to pay $10 for a lighter like that, because it's a generic lighter. And so everybody's racing to the bottom to get the smallest part. But when you go look at something like Zeppo or one of those Mont Blanc have lighters, those are high quality, and they understand the quality of their work, and so they're able to charge higher. So if you understand the quality of your work, what you're saying is you might be able to charge more, and if you create that,
they can charge more.
Love that.
And it's not, I just want to take that example and say that it's not just about the quality of those higher, the Mont Blanc or whatever's. It's also what that lighter is going to say about me having it in my home, right? So there's a status component, or that's what you have to figure out for your client. How is what you provide, whether it's product or a service, going to impact their life, their image of themselves, their business, right? Any component of that in a way that is beyond pricing, because any way that you can impact somebody so that you make their life better, you make them feel some way about themselves, see themselves some way, that's priceless, right? But you have to define that so that you can speak to that in a way that helps that person know, yeah, you're going to get my coaching program, but what you're going to get from my coaching program is confidence in your ability to run your own business, to make the best decisions for that business and to feel absolutely in control as a founder. I can't sell you that. If I came to you and I said, hey, this is what I'm selling you, you'd be like, get out of here. But through my testimonials, like if you read any of my testimonials, that's what everybody's pretty much saying, right? They're all saying beneath the surface of what literally you do for me, this is the biggest takeaway that I have, that I see myself as capable in this role of founder CEO.
I love it. It's very true. I kind of want to touch on your teaching because it's very interesting, because you're pretty much teaching the future entrepreneurs, the future Jeff Bezos, the future Elon Musk. Hopefully not crazy for space as much as that, or jumping on stages. But I would love to know what has been the most rewarding experience working with these aspiring business owners through the program, and how does that help shape your perspective on entrepreneurship in the future?
So I'm going to admit that whether I'm teaching or I'm coaching, really anything that I'm doing, the best thing is when something I say lights up someone else. When they go, oh my God, like you just changed everything for me. That's the best thing. I mean, any teacher is going to tell you when they see the light turn on in a student's eyes around whatever they're communicating about, that's the best thing, because that is why we do what we do. And that's true for my clients as well. When they come back to me and say, oh, I keep hearing your voice in my head telling me this, and it really keeps me grounded and focused. And I've been able to get through all of my to-dos. And I feel so great that I've accomplished all this stuff. That's a great feeling. So, and then what was the second part of your question? I apologize. Oh, what's the future? What does the future look like for entrepreneurship? The funny thing is that I started teaching in 2017-ish, I think. And it's really, even though there's been this whole AI revolution and a lot of technology revolution, and we went through a whole pandemic, the businesses kind of are just slightly different than they were before all of that stuff, right? It's like with a twist, I would say. Pick any business and it's just with a little twist. What's really exciting to me right now is seeing how many people are coming through these programs with so much social good in their missions that I've seen a huge uptick of, and I love seeing that, and I feel like that's really hopeful for just the future as a society. And a lot of people who are trying to marry for-profit and nonprofit, who have significant kind of charitable giving components to their business concepts. That's been, to me, the most marked, it's just shifted upward. It was always there, but it's way more now. The largest component of the class are entrepreneurs like that.
So if I'm understanding this correct, you're seeing a lot more heart-centric entrepreneurs coming into this. I love that. We need more of those.
Yes.
Because that's how we get those major changes and societal changes that we need. I want to know, with everything you've been doing since 2017, doing the teaching, prior to that doing your personal business, what do you do to invest in yourself to keep becoming the best version of yourself?
I think you have to I expose myself to new people and new experiences. So, as I said before, you kind of have to live on that. And that a friend of mine called it the learning edge. You got to live on that learning edge so that you are able to keep growing as a human being. I'm an innately curious person, so that kind of feeds that component and keeps that alive in me. I think the other thing that I do, I've really been working on, especially post-pandemic, and because I also have an elderly parent, making sure that I bake into my my week enough self-care, just enough step away from the screens, go outside, walk in the park or whatever, see friends. It can't all be business. It can't all be, people needing things from me. And the other thing I would say is connected to needing things from me is asking for help. Like that's been a significant work on my end because I was not good at it at all. I hated it. And really over the past about the past decade, I've really worked hard at getting good at asking other people for the things that I need and for help, and getting better at letting go of that fear of, oh, they're going to think I'm a pain in the butt. They're going to, reject it. They're going to never talk to me again. All the voices in your head that you walk through that you think like people are not going to want to do anything for you, right? And think poorly of you because you deign to ask them for something. To sort of like, that doesn't happen anymore. I think you just get better with practice.
I want to touch on that because asking for help is very similar to networking, because you have to network to be able to ask for those help. What is a strategy that you have to help with those, like to create an elevator pitch that's effective? Because when you're networking, you have that first like 10 seconds, 30 seconds to really let the person know who you are in what you say. Obviously how you approach it, and that like visually that's important, but also what you say is so important in an elevator pitch to get those people who don't know who you are kind of more on your side, or at least receptive to to connecting with you. So how would an entrepreneur go about crafting one of those effective elevator pitches in your opinion?
So first off, don't call it an elevator pitch. Don't think about it as an elevator pitch. Think of it as a conversation starter, right? Because that's what it is. That's what you're trying to do. What I find most people end up doing is they try to encompass everything there is to say about, as short as possible, but I'm going to hit all the points. And then there's nothing for anybody else to do but say, oh, that's interesting, right? Like you've given them nothing to be curious about, right? Nothing intriguing, because you've told them all the answers to the questions they could ask in that introduction of yourself. So the purpose isn't to put it all into one or two sentences. The purpose is to craft a introduction of yourself that allows somebody else to ask you a question. And you should think about what are the questions you want somebody to ask you as a follow-up to your introduction, right? Because that's going to help you pick out the pieces that seed those questions. That's one. Two, you can also have your second sentence be a question, right? So if I were to meet somebody and I told them, this is who I am, I'm a business growth coach, and here's how I help my clients, is there something in your business you're struggling with right now? They can't, what are they going to say? Oh, that's interesting. No, they're going to answer that question, and they're going to tell me no. That means they're not a client, a potential customer client for me, right? But everybody's struggling with something in their business. I mean, it's really hard not to be struggling with something, right? There's something.
Even Bezos is struggling with something.
Right. Everybody's struggling with something. So that's a question that I can ask after I tell them a little bit about myself in the context of, hey, this is what I do for a living. I coach people, right, to level up their businesses. What are you struggling with? What might you need coaching with right now? Again, like, be creative. The thing is not to think about you, to think about who your audience is, to always come back to who are you talking to and giving them the opportunity to talk to you, right? So I think that's like there's been a disservice in calling all these things like elevator pitches and then thinking that we're using them in the context of introducing ourselves. An elevator pitch is when you have very little time to literally pitch somebody on your business as an investor. That's who that other person is. They're an investor. They're maybe a client, but you have to know that in advance, right? You have to know, oh, I'm pitching this person to invest in my business. I'm pitching this person to be a customer in my business. And most of us, when we meet people, we're not sure who that other person is. Maybe they're a prospect, but maybe they're also just a referral source for us. Maybe they're a strategic partner, right? Maybe they're a mentor. So until you identify who that other person is, you can't really pitch them anything. and you shouldn't be pitching them anything. You should just simply be introducing yourself in a way that helps you start a conversation about your business, about how you help people.
I love it. This is great. This episode, I'm going to be devolving into reading the transcript because there's more gold in it than them hills, as the saying goes. But we are unfortunately coming to the end of the episode, which I hate, Lauren, because you are a wealth of knowledge, especially since you're hitting two cornerstones. You're teaching, so you're getting even more experience and you're understanding the teaching, but also you do your own business on the side, so you're doing exceptionally there. It's insane. You're hitting two birds with one sword, or whatever the saying is. But we do need to leave, and unfortunate. But I would love for you to answer this last question for me. I have your 10-year-old self right beside me. Amazing, caring, giving. Not much difference between you now and then, but what is the advice you would love to hand back to that 10-year-old self?
So when I was 10 years old, I was painfully shy. I had like 4 friends in the world and my family, and that was all the people I felt comfortable talking to. So what I would tell my 10-year-old self is, you got to let people get to know you in order for any success in life to happen. People have to know you. And that is actually more powerful than anything else. When people know you, I have people who will do anything for me, right? So that piece of being vulnerable, being authentic, being genuine, allowing people the opportunity to get to know you as an entrepreneur, that's a cornerstone of success, because if people know you, they will get to trust you. Whoever is the right people to trust you, they will be loyal to you. My clients, I like to say I'm a teacher on the side. I'm a business coach and consultant. That's my day job. And I have clients that I worked with a decade ago. They still refer clients to me, right? If I had told my 10-year-old self that I was going to be teaching, that I was going to be coaching, that people were going to look to me as a leader, like would not have believed it.
She's like, get out of here. Who are you? Go take a walk.
Yeah. So I would say that. And I would say the other thing that I would tell my 10-year-old self is not to take things too seriously, right? Everything changes. Everything has cycles. Everybody has ups and downs. And the best defense against that is a good sense of humor.
Love that. Great. Some amazing pieces of advice, not only for 10-year-old versions of ourselves, but also the adult versions of ourselves, not to take things too serious. I'm going to jump off stage here, Lauren. I want you to let the audience know where they can connect with you, how they can work with you if they're looking for a business growth coach or anything like that. So the floor, ma'am, is yours.
Thank you so much. You can find me at easily said, the letter N, done.com. Take my free pricing assessment. If you need some business therapy, you can purchase like a session from me, as well as talk to me about my coaching program. In addition, you can find me on LinkedIn. I love to if you link in with me, please just send me, hey, I found you on Phil Better's podcast, Invest in Yourself. And I'm happy to link in with you.
There we go. Lauren. Accidentally muted myself. But Lauren, thank you so much for being an amazing guest. I had a thoroughly great time chatting with you and hearing all your advice. I know my audience is going to definitely take away a lot of golden nuggets from this episode.
It's been my great pleasure. And again, reach out to me if you need help.
To my audience, make sure you check out the show notes down below to connect with Lauren and see how she can help you out and maybe even get some of that coaching that she's offered. I thank you so much for listening, Lauren. Again, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you. You're an amazing individual. And as I always say, please, everybody, remember to invest in yourself. Lauren,